What's up, people? Back in the shop today. Figured I'd drop a quick video, let everybody know what's going on. We got the car back together. It's running good. Everything's working the way it should, the way it was before we bent the valve. That's all good. I got everything straightened out with Tommy for now. Unfortunately, he does have to go spend 4 hours a week with his mom. He's not happy about it, but it's the best we could do. It's hard in this state because the state leans heavily on the mother's rights. But he reluctantly went. He's back. So we'll work on that in the future. But unfortunately, because of that, we ended up spending most of our budget we had for the car on attorney fees because she wanted him full time. We wasn't going to let that happen. If we had to sell everything we have to pay for it, we was going to fight it. So that set us back a little bit, but we'll get caught up here. The weather's going to start breaking soon. It's a cold, probably 38-degree day today. A little cold in the shop. Probably my thoughts with this car, like I said, we had the money saved. We wanted to do the roll cage. And probably going to add a second turbo since the exhaust housing on this turbo is a little bit too small. We're running up against a brick wall at about 650 horsepower. It's just the engine's flowing too much air for that small exhaust housing. And I can put a second turbo that size on there for less than the cost of one big turbo. So we might as well just go that route. All I just got to do is get another turbo this size, which it's a 7875, but it has the 0.68 AR housing. So it's a real small exhaust housing, as you can see. For a V8, I mean, it spools quick. The only downfall is, like I said, is that it brick walls around 650 horsepower on E85. So we'll get another wastegate, another turbo like this, the plumbing for it, the flange, and we'll fab up another hot side for it. The intercooler, we'll just go ahead and modify it so we can go with 2 3-inch in, 1 3-inch out. I started working, tinkering a little bit on the hot side just to see what I had today in the shop. I started welding up to make me a log style manifold out of a factory. That'll end up being our driver's side, hot side, and then we'll go ahead and modify our passenger side. We'll probably just cut the crossover off and weld it shut. Try to get the second turbo mounted about the same spot, but on the driver's side. We may have to come out a little more, might have to move the blow-off valve. That's just little stuff. We can always turn it down, rotate it out of the way. We got to be careful because we got the power steering over. I'm sure we're going to have to relocate the fuel pressure regulator, but that's all minor stuff. I mean, we learned a lot with this car. I said, I've had a hot rod background. I'm 45 years old. I've been literally playing with cars as long as I can remember. At 10, 11, 12 years old, I was helping my dad and my uncles. And we always had a good time with these cars, learning a lot. And we always thought that by 16, 17, 18, we had, our typical small block Chevy Camaros and G-bodies. And they always ran decent. We had decent cams in them, decent set of factory heads. And we thought we had something, but in reality, looking back now, probably we didn't make 300 horsepower. But, that was the name of the game in the early 90s and mid 90s. There just wasn't much power to be had with the old stuff. And I mean, this LS stuff just blows my mind at the power it makes factory. Like I said, this motor here, I mean, it has a $250 eBay turbo on it. The biggest money spent in this engine was in the fuel system. I mean, it has a better set. It has 1500 cc injectors from Snake Eater Performance, which work fine. They're good running E85. We needed a bigger injector because of the volume of fuel it needs. Other than that, I mean, the only thing this motor has is it has the Trick Flow branded cam, but it's the Elgin cam, known as the Sloppy Stage 2. It's 228, 230 duration at 50 thousandths, and it's 585 lift. And we got the Pack 12 18 valve springs. That's really the only, other than gapping the rings, that's the only modifications done to this motor. But I have noticed, I mean, there's really no power difference on this thing between 18 psi of boost and 23 pounds. It doesn't really make a power difference because, like I said, it's running up and brick walling against that small exhaust housing. So I think the second turbo will fix that problem. I mean, we really necessarily don't need to make 1300 horsepower, but the capability will be there. We got a power glide for it that we're working on doing some mods for. And definitely we got to get a better converter. This converter in here now, I picked up on Marketplace. The guy had it in a big block mud drag truck. And he claimed he could get like 3,500 stall out of it. I mean, I don't see it. It's a 10-inch converter, but it starts to push through the brakes on this car at around 2,800. So we need to get a better converter. Especially if we make more power, we're going to blow through the converter anyway. As for the learning curve and the expense, I said with this motor, we really ran into that in the fuel system because I didn't realize how much fuel system it takes to run a car at this much power. And I've learned a lot with it. I mean, everything, it has an 8AN feed line from the sump up here to the regulator all the way to the rail with 8AN, and it has a 6AN return. We're running the Speedmaster pump, which is basically the knockoff of the A1000. It works good. It supplies the fuel we need. I want to get rid of the fuel cell. I hate the fuel cell. If anybody comes across the chance, if you had the chance to run a factory fuel tank versus a fuel cell, if your sanctioning body doesn't require a fuel cell, honestly, I just say don't run it. It's a pain because opening the trunk, put fuel in the car. This cell here doesn't have a fuel gauge, so that makes it a pain. You just run around constantly with, range anxiety that you're going to run out of fuel. I'm just going to order up a G-body replacement tank for it, for the carb motor, and we're going to go ahead and cut it and just put a sump in the bottom of the pan. That way we can run a factory gauge, but still have the Dash 8 feed line to feed the pump. And then clean my trunk back out. And that should work. I mean, that's our future plans. And then, like I said, we do want to get the roll cage in it. We will have everything done for the No Name Nationals. That's our plan. We'll be able to make it work. I've looked at a couple drive lines for the Winnebago. I've looked at a couple second-gen Dodges that were rusty. I mean, a couple of the guys were a little high on the price, but, sometimes you got to pay for what you pay. And I was really hoping to find a drive line out of maybe a school bus, because I would rather have the Allison transmission than to deal with a 1-ton Dodge transmission. But then again, I'd like to have overdrive, so we'll figure that out as the time comes, and we'll keep watching for the right drive line. I mean, so far the cheapest, I found a whole truck that was completely rotted out, but it had 300,000 miles on it, and they wanted $5,000 for the whole truck. And I mean, literally, it was just a shipping crate for the motor is all we were buying. So we didn't jump on that one, and so we couldn't at this point anyway. But give us a month or two, we'll be caught back up, and we can get into that. We'll just wait for the deal to come along for us, because it won't take us long to put it in. I figure if we get all the supplies and everything needed, we can have that motor swapped in and that thing running in 2 or 3 days. It's not that big a deal. It's practically a bolt in to take that big block out and put a 12 valve Cummins in it. So we're not worried about that. Said, other than that, said we're just going to keep on keeping on. It's supposed to get nice this weekend, or this week coming up. So hopefully we can get the pickup cleaned out, get it fired up and down here, and get some of this garbage out of this garage. I mean, hell, there's probably $500 of scrap laying here, just stuff through the years that's accumulated in the corners. So we can get that out of the way and get this thing back where we have room to work in here efficiently, and we'll have room for other projects also. We have a 69 Le Mans that my friend has. We've been doing some work on it, so I'll have some videos on that. It's got carbureted motor in it with a Holley, so we'll have some videos on that. Just little things like that. So, all right, guys, I appreciate the time. I'm sorry we haven't been to Hagerstown for those that subscribe for that. I'm sorry to let you down. I mean, there's 17 streamers down there yesterday, though, so, I mean, we'll just be stepping on top of each other. I said I had to spend so much money for the attorney for Tommy's custody. That was more important. But we do want to get back down there before they tear out of the Hagerstown. And if not, we'll catch up with them at our next location. And hope to do some interviews with some guys and see what's going on. All right. If you guys are in the north, stay warm. If you're in the south and it's warm, I'm jealous of you. Have a good night, and we'll catch you later. Bye.